Hello there, my name is Ava Moran, and this is my Reteach It project on sexual violence against women and feminine individuals within the patriarchy for FAS 264 Sociology of Gender. I based this project on the following research question. In what ways does the patriarchy encourage and perpetuate sexual violence against women or feminine individuals? In order to answer this question, this project will pursue the following purpose and agenda: providing definitions for patriarchy and sexual violence. We're highlighting some key elements. 2, understanding and exploring rape culture and its roots in misogyny. 3, explaining how feminine persons experience sexual violence from intersectional perspectives. And 4, sharing some personal experience with my sexual violence as a woman, and also providing resources for those who are victims in our lives or maybe viewers who are watching who have experienced sexual violence themselves. To begin, I will be elaborating on what the patriarchy is and providing a few different definitions. To define patriarchy, we first turn to Hannah Cutt, 2009, which defines patriarchy as, quote, social arrangements that privilege males, where men as a group dominate women as a group, both structurally and ideologically, hierarchical arrangements that manifest in varieties across history and social space. According to Ali and Naylor, it justifies systemic male domination within society. And according to Kalra and Bugra, the patriarchy endorses and promotes male supremacy while actively creating obstacles for the success of females or feminine persons. Patriarchal societies will witness more sexual violence compared to the gender-equal societies. Sexual violence against feminine individuals can present itself in several ways. Large institutions in the media have led many of us to believe that sexual violence is committed by random, abstract perpetrators, but it can present itself as many of the following: as intimate partner violence, domestic violence, incestual relationships, workplace violence, healthcare violations, educational violence, and more. Patriarchy often aims to keep women in submissive positions, if not by fear, then by force. Where Wade and Fier shares that even as patriarch/property marriage was replaced by a breadwinner/housewife model, men's right to sex didn't change right away. Well into the 1970s, domestic violence, sexual harassment, and sexual assault went largely unregulated by the government. So how else does the patriarchy target women and feminine presenting individuals? Wade and Ferrari share a few different ways as mentioned in our class textbook. One of these ways is benevolent sexism, which is positive attributes that are responsible for justification of the submission of women to men. Example, being supportive and selfless. Hostile sexism, which is harassment and violence in order to ensure women are submissive to their male counterparts. And third is hypermasculinity, men's urge to have extreme conformity to the rules of aggression in masculinity. One direct way that the patriarchy puts women and feminine persons in danger is through the creation and perpetuation of rape culture. This is a culture that is deeply rooted in misogynistic values and can present itself in a number of ways. Wade and Ferrari share that sexual violence is not inevitable. In fact, it is extraordinarily rare in some societies. Some environments, though, facilitate sexual assault. These are rape cultures, environments that justify, naturalize, and even glorify sexual pressure, coercion, and violence. And also that in the United States, media often promoted rape culture too. Routine and regular programming are images that glamorize scenes of sexual force, sex scenes in which women say no and then change their minds. Rape scenes in movies and on television are common plot twists or character devices, purposefully designed to be sexually titillating. Intersectionality is important to remember. Intersectionality is the idea that oppression is interconnected, or according to Coombs, is the acknowledgement that everyone has their own unique experiences of discrimination and oppression, and we must consider everything and anything that can marginalize people, gender, race, class, sexual orientation, physical ability, etc. It is essential to keep this concept in mind when studying sexual violence in America. There is a plethora of different ways that intersecting identities can change the avenue through which individuals fall victim to sexual violence. Intersectionality can play an important role in the way that individuals experience sexual violence due to someone's sexual identity, religious affiliation, race, age, region of origin, and more. Working to listen to and amplify victims' voices. First, listening, supporting, and believing can go a long way. One easy way that we can show support to victims of sexual violence is promoting not only listening to the experiences of victims, but also instilling faith in their testimonies and reassuring them that their trauma is both real and valid. Second, working against rape culture. The promotion and glamorization of the entitlement that men feel over feminine bodies is a large issue in our society, and a view that as feminists we should actively be working against. Rape culture perpetuates systems and methods of violence working against women and feminine individuals that consistently result in our oppression and often our degradation. Third, we can encourage accountability for ourselves and our male counterparts. The men in our lives should feel responsible for addressing, quote, locker room talk or other casual misogynistic rhetoric that they encounter in their daily lives in order to help protect feminine persons. Last, we can relentlessly promote bodily autonomy and egalitarian lifestyles for women around the world. Patriarchal societies benefit from the oppression of women in many ways, but criticism for these methods can only go so far. Activism and community involvement are essential in order for feminine communities to be able to see an increase in their safety and prioritization as independent citizens. Sharing my experience. My experience with sexual violence as a woman began when I was young. At 4 years old, I experienced my first sexual assault and fell victim to similar violence at several points throughout my teenage years. Until I reached my 20s, there wasn't any reason for me to advocate about my experiences, but I felt that I deserved my shame and the disappointment that came as a result. As I reach my adult years, however, I have come into contact with many resources that have not only helped me realize that I am not suffering alone in my experience, but instead that there is empowerment and confidence to be found in my new community. Shame and stigma are just a small portion of the battle that victims of sexual violence must face, especially as women or feminine presenting individuals. If you or someone you know is struggling, you can offer physical and emotional support. Remember that this is not the victim's fault, but instead is the result of patriarchal and misogynistic systems and institutions. Remember that there is help available, and one of these resources is the National Sexual Assault Hotline listed below.